dollars. My next guest is the Executive Vice President of the National Taxpayers Union, Brendan Arnold. Welcome back to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, I said to my team earlier, I'm like, monologues, there's two issues right now, Trump and the ballot and the border. What is going on with the budget? Are we going to have another continued resolution, or are we actually going to get something here?
Yeah, I'm not sure at this point. It looks like a complete and total mess, which is kind of evergreen talking points when it comes to the budget. But we are looking at a partial government shutdown on January 19th. I'll double check my math on this, Andrew, but I think that's about a week and a half from now. So it's not that much time. And Congress really hasn't gotten its act together. They just agreed to spend about $1.6 trillion, which is essentially the agreement that they reached last May, formalized in last June. And they just re-agreed to it, essentially. The problem is that, if they just stick to $1.6 trillion, it's not the end of the world. But the problem is Schumer and his Democratic allies are already going out there crowing about some sort of side deal that's $70 billion above that. And then there may be additional funds for Ukraine and Israel that could exceed $100 billion. And we haven't even talked about the border issue at that point, which could cost billions of dollars more if they actually try to address it in a meaningful way. So there's a lot going on out there, and it's hard to piece together how this is going to play out. But I can tell you this, there's a lot of really unhappy members of Congress on Capitol Hill right now, and a lot of concern that this agreement is going to be very quickly breached by Schumer and Biden and others on the Hill.
Look, Mike Johnson seems, and by all accounts, he is a very nice person. But we don't need nice people right now. We need true fighters who are ready to do battle here. The Democrats, if they just had the House of Representatives, they would never say, well, what do you want us to do? We only have one half of one branch of government. If this were Nancy Pelosi versus a Republican Senate and a Republican President, Trump, she would fight like hell. They have made it so that government shutdowns only benefit them politically, even if they're the ones that caused them.
Well, government shutdowns always benefit Democrats. I think we've seen that time and time again here. So we could go down that route here. I don't think it'd be a productive one. I think we'd end up taking it on the chin at the end of the day. So, I think Johnson's in a tough spot because the Republican conference in the House of Representatives, the majority went from razor thin to somehow even less than that. I don't know what that is, paper thin or what have you, with McCarthy leaving, Bill Johnson's about to leave. We've had retirements here. So there's just not a lot of breathing room here. And if you have a conference that doesn't give you any negotiating power, it's really hard to go to Schumer. It's really hard to go to Biden and say, do things my way. You don't have your team lined up behind you. Everyone is pulling in different directions. So I'm giving Mike Johnson too much of the benefit of the doubt here, but I still think he is certainly directionally committed to reducing the size and scope of the federal budget. I think he is doing his best. I think if Republicans could act with some modicum of unity and cohesion, I think he would be able to do his job a lot more effectively.
What do you think this does? We got the Iowa caucuses next week. We're going to have some Haley DeSantis show. They're 55. Trump is 55 points up on both of them. What does this do to Trump's campaign if Republicans just can't? Do you think voters are asking for more spending? We're looking at $500 billion for illegal immigrants. We're looking, like you said, $100 billion, another $100 billion for Ukraine. When we have Americans who are struggling under the weight of inflation, they can make all the wonky statements they want about how inflation is slowing and it's coming down. There is fixed in price inflation that's not going anywhere, and paychecks are not going very far.
Yeah, Congress should be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. They should be able to drive down spending and also do stuff that would actually reduce inflation. Right now, the Fed has done all the heavy lifting, and that's the only reason we've had any inflation relief whatsoever. Congress and the president have been paddling in the opposite direction and trying to make inflation go higher, even as they say they're trying to help out the American people who are struggling, as you note. There's a lot of stuff that can be done. I think we do see a little bit of movement on a tax package that could be beneficial, could expand the child tax credit, could incentivize people to actually build stuff, manufacture stuff in America. And the more stuff we make here, we can drive down inflation through having additional supply. So there are a few things floating around out there. But for the most part, it's been just absolute dysfunction on Capitol Hill. And again, until Republicans have some degree of cohesion, to agree to a spending figure, to give Johnson that negotiating authority, and then actually go into these spending bills and start to deprogram, to turn off some of what this administration is doing at the Department of Labor, the Federal Trade Commission, and certainly the IRS, among other places. I think that should be the focus of this Republican Party. Until they stop squabbling, none of it's going to get done.
Yeah, you saw that graphic there. For gas prices aren't, they keep saying gas and food prices are coming down. Yeah, from orbital, from intergalactic to just stratospheric. Look, there might be voters out there that aren't really big Donald Trump fans, but if they give Biden the White House and, God forbid, Democrats take back the House of Representatives, you're going to get another 4 years of this.
Yeah, and that's what cracks me up every time Biden goes out there and runs on Bidenomics. Biden should be running away from Bidenomics because everybody hates it and everybody knows it is one of the principal reasons, if not the principal reason, that we are dealing with this ridiculous inflation. Republicans, Democrats, independents, you name it, are frustrated with the current economy. The polls show that. Poll after poll shows that. Yet Biden keeps going out there and claiming Bidenomics is working. It doesn't matter how many times you repeat a lie. People are smarter than that and they aren't buying into it. So yeah, I think as long as he sticks to this notion that his economic policies are working and we're going to double down on them, I think that's great news for every Republican running for elected office in November.
All right, Brandon, thanks for joining us. Before we go to break,